So let's just talk about map, filter and reduce in Python. So first of all, let's just talk about filter. So as the name suggests, so this is basically used to filter elements from a sequence of numbers. So suppose we have a list of numbers. Now we can apply this filter and we can filter out some of the elements based on some condition. So the filter will apply some function and the function returns true or false, and based on this we can filter out some of the element and we can have a list of numbers. So we are basically applying the filter and we are filtering from the list of numbers and we are producing one resultant list of numbers. And next we have the map. So the map also takes a sequence of numbers and then it applies one function to every element of the list, and after that the function will return one transformed result. So the resultant list will contain the same number of element. Suppose this mapping function adds 1 to all of these numbers. So in the resultant list all of them will be increased by 1. So the map function basically maps from one sequence of list to a resultant sequence of list. So next we have the reduce function. So this function also takes a sequence of numbers, and as the name suggests, the function will apply one function to the sequence of number and then eventually it will reduce that list to a single value. So suppose we wanted to find the sum of all the numbers in the sequence, so in that case we can apply the reduce function. So the reduce will apply this binary function which will add all of them, and eventually we're gonna get one single result which is the sum of all the numbers from the list. So that is the working of filter, map and reduce. So first of all, let's just talk about the filter. So here we have a list of numbers. Now we can apply filter and we can get all the numbers that are greater than 5. So let's see how we can do that using the filter. So the filter takes two parameters. So first of all, it will take one function which will return boolean value. So let's just use the function greater than 5, and the second parameter we're gonna pass the list of numbers. So let's now define the function, and the function will return boolean value. So the function will take all the numbers from the list one by one, and then if the number is greater than 5, then we're gonna return true. So the filter will pass each of these numbers from the list to this function, and if the function returns true, then the filter will return this number. So we can store it in a variable x. Now because this will return a list of numbers, so we're gonna convert this to the list. So now if we print x, so you can see we're getting 6, 8 and 10. So these are the numbers from the list which satisfies this condition. So because they are greater than 5, so we are returning true for those numbers, and the filter will take those numbers and store them in the variable x. So instead of creating one separate function, we can directly use one lambda function right here. So let's just use the lambda function. So the lambda function will take each individual number from the list, and then we're gonna check if the number is greater than 5, then we're gonna return true. And if we run this, you can see we have the same output. So let's just talk about the map function. So the map function, first of all, it takes one function. So let's just use the function square because we wanted to find the square of all the numbers, and the second parameter we're gonna pass the list of numbers, this list of numbers. So let's now define the square function. So the function will take a number, all of these single numbers from the list. We're gonna return the square of that number. So the map will call the square function with individual numbers from this list, and then the returned value we're gonna store in a variable y. Now because this is one list of numbers, so we're gonna convert this to list, and let's now print the result. So we should get square of all of these numbers from the list. So here we have the naming mistake, so let's just write this correctly. So we're getting square of all the numbers. So here we're just using one separate function to get the square. So we can use the lambda function right here. So let's just use the lambda function. So the lambda will take number as a parameter and then it will return the square of that number. So you can see we are having the same output. So let's now talk about the reduce function. So to use the reduce function we have to import. So from func tools we are going to import the reduce. Then we will be able to use the reduce function. So here we have one list of numbers. So we're going to use the reduce function to find sum of all of these numbers from the list. First of all, it takes one function. So we're going to call this add and then the list of numbers. So we have to define the add function. So the add function will take two numbers. It will return the addition of those two numbers. And at the end, the reduce function will reduce all of these numbers to a single value, which is the sum of all of those numbers in the list. So let's now print the sum. So here you can see the sum of all the numbers is 10. So here we are using one separate function to find the sum. We can do this using one lambda functions also. So the lambda function will take two parameters and then it will return the sum of those two numbers. And you can see we have the same output. So this way we can use the filter function to filter based on a condition, and also we can use the map function to transform elements using one function, and then we have the reduce function which reduces elements to a single value using one binary function. So hope you understand the concept. See you in the next one. Take care.